What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Release Valve. I'm your host, Sean Hanlon, and I have the deepest pleasure and privilege of having returning guest, everybody's favorite outreach pastor, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Barry Taimani. Welcome back, sir.
Yes, Sirski. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you so much, Sean. Love you, bro.
Nah, I love you too, my man. I really appreciate you reaching out. And, like we were talking about before we started recording, there was an affirmation of this conversation was meant to be.
Yeah,
For the listeners, I was having the thought this morning. I like to start my mornings with a little manifestation, a little prayer. And that was one of the things that I was kind of going over was I need to do more with this podcast, this platform. I need to start putting myself in positions to where if I'm expecting other people to come on and be vulnerable, I need to bridge that gap first. And that was something that I got from you on our first episode that we did together, and something that you kind of taught us was, be vulnerable first to show other people that they can be vulnerable with you. Put yourself out there in ways that makes people feel comfortable opening up to you. And so
yeah.
you crossed my mind this morning, and then lo and behold, a couple hours later, brother, you hit me up, man, and
That's
it
crazy.
almost gives me chills thinking about it.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, all things work together for good, man, for those who love God. And so I love that you were having this, moment while you were praying. And so, it was crazy because I was just driving through work and I'm a garbage man. I'm always listening to podcasts on my route. But I was driving through El Camino in Menlo Park, and then you came to mind, and I was like, and we had spoke a couple months ago about, doing another episode.
Yeah.
But as soon as I thought about you, one thing that I've learned is that when a person comes to mind, the Apostle Paul talks about, he's always praying for people when they come to mind. And the moment you came to mind, I was like, I need to hit this dude up. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so I've done that a lot where if somebody comes to mind, I'll just call them and just be like, hey, I was thinking about you. And so I wanted to hit you up. And we had a really good conversation this morning.
Hmm.
But yeah, right before this call, you shared, that moment you thought of me. And so yeah, there's no such thing as coincidence. So I'm just grateful that we aligned and we made it happen. So that happened this morning, and here we are, 7 o'clock, making this episode for these folks, man.
Right, right. Yeah, you're so right, man. That's something that I gotta get better with, because I've had those thoughts and those feelings about people before, and other people have done that with me before too. And I'm like, man, I was just thinking about you too, and I know how good it makes me feel when somebody does that. And
Yeah.
so I know that in turn, it's going to make other people feel good too. Hey, man, I was thinking about you, just wanted to see how you were doing.
Yep.
It helps people feel seen. It helps people feel important, and the people
Yeah.
in my life, just literally everybody that's a part of my life is important. They had some sort of hand in molding me, helping mold me into the person that I am today, right? For being a part of my life. So everybody's important. Everybody that's there is important to me, and I got to let
Amen.
them know more often how much they mean to me. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you said that, man.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
So, I mean, you last time we had a conversation, man, it was so impactful, it was so meaningful, and we've taken so many lessons from that conversation and
Yeah.
applied them, adopted them into our everyday lives. And a lot of the things, the lessons that we learned, have helped us kind of mold
Mhm.
the podcast and what it is today, the way that we
Mhm.
approach things, the way that we approach relationships, the way that we talk to people, and again, trying to be more vulnerable to let other people know that they could be vulnerable too.
Yeah.
That's a big thing with this podcast, hence the name, the release valve. Release what you have going on inside, and that's
Yeah.
always easier said than done. But as
Yeah.
soon as you can get somebody else to do that, or as soon as you can do that first for somebody else, you'll be amazed at how much you can see people opening up. And once that bridge is gapped, right?
Yep. Yep. I mean, as a pastor, right? Like I'm here in my church and I'm doing a little Bible study, and I wanted to leave the house. So the house is a little loud to record this, but as a pastor. as I shepherd people, in order to be fully loved, you must be fully known. And one of my
Mm,
favorite scriptures is, people will know you're my disciples if you love one another. And so love in community is part of the journey. And what
mm,
I love about the title of the release valve is, there's a scripture that says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks.
mm,
And so we all are holding something in our hearts, right?
mm,
You can tell a lot about a person by, the first 5 minutes you talk to them. You can tell what they're passionate about. You can tell what they last spent watching, or who they hung out with, or what
mm.
their interests are. And so a lot of us are carrying something, right? But
Right.
what I love about this title, the release valve, and the last conversation we had, we got vulnerable, we got real, and I think that's what makes this podcast so powerful, is that when you can bring people to share their hearts and to be fully known, to be transparent, to be vulnerable. We
Mm,
live in a culture where vulnerability is looked at as weakness, but
right.
Renee Brown breaks down vulnerability as power. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
and I feel when you can, especially as a pastor, shepherd people by being vulnerable and allowing them into my heart, my struggles, my mistakes, my all of it, right? And to really be the type of shepherd where, hey, you can relate to me. I have struggles too. This is where you can find common ground, and then this is where empathy flows. And
mm,
when you can find common ground, that, hey, the Bible says that we've all sinned and fall short. Everybody has fallen short. We all have made mistakes. We all have, fallen short of the glory of God. But when you can find common ground, that you've made mistakes, I've made mistakes, you've done wrong, I've done wrong, and that common ground gives us like kind of this level playing field of
right.
empathy, right? And so when you can really empathize with people's struggles, what they're going through, this is where healing happens. This is
100%.
what this is where we find out we actually need a savior. We need Jesus, because he's the only perfect one that came down here and lived a perfect life, demonstrated to us what divine nature in the flesh looks like.
Mm,
And that's the access we have through faith. And so that's kind of the powerful thing about being able to release what's going on in here, but understanding that Jesus released everything in his
mm,
heart, so that we can not only be forgiven, but also we can be given his spirit to not only have eternal life, but also to live holy here now. So
right.
grateful for the opportunity I get to just share space and just share some of the stuff God is doing in my life. Since the last time we spoke, man, we've been pretty active. We launched a nonprofit. I'm repping Melino Foundation. We just launched this October 10th, 2023. And so, you know, I'm just grateful that God has blessed us with the opportunity to officially become a 501c3. And with all the stuff that we're doing, it's so great to see, how we're able to take what we've been doing for years, and then now connect with like-minded people who are crushing it, supporting people, and helping people in need. And now, it's official, so I'm excited to
Yeah.
tap into some of that.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. One of the things that you said that really stuck out to me was vulnerability being a superpower and not a weakness. And that was something for me that for the longest time, my insecurities of the things that I've gone through in life, that I was afraid of other people's judgment, right? That I wasn't willing to look at those things as lessons that I can learn from and grow from. And so I kept that stuff real tight to the chest, real close to me. But I was always telling other people that they needed to open up. Hit your release valve was something I used to say all the time, especially to people that I was close with. But was never really being close with them on my end. You know,
Mm.
always wanted people to be close to me, but never really being close to them. And being vulnerable has, it's uncomfortable at first. But
Yeah.
it's almost like a muscle. Once you start working that muscle out, it gets stronger and it gets
Yep.
easier to be vulnerable with people. And then in turn, it gets easier for people to be vulnerable with you. And so
Yep.
what you're doing, being vulnerable with people and bridging that gap, showing them that they are in a safe space when they're around you, that it's okay to be vulnerable, that there is no judgment to that degree. There's only one judge, right? And they're not
Yep.
looking at it like that. So to be vulnerable and open up and then start building that community of healing together, then you start networking with more people. And then, I mean, this is what you're doing right now, and the building that you're literally standing in is a
Yeah.
result of those relationships that you've built with other people by being vulnerable with them
Yeah.
being vulnerable with you, coming together, like-minded folk, as they say, right? And
Yeah.
then and then what service can we provide each other? How can we help each other out? Oh, I know a guy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But if you're
Yep.
not putting yourself in that position first, none of that happens.
Yeah, man. You just hit it. Some of the dopest relationships that I have today have been because of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to name a few, right? I'm actually throughout this whole launching of our nonprofit, we've already been doing work in the community for over 10 years.
Mm.
But what's been pretty amazing is that when you become a 501c3, you now have access to people and places that you couldn't get to without it, right?
Right.
Um, and so, as you become official as a business, a nonprofit business, you can leverage so much more by being your own entity. And so, you know, obviously when you're making these connections and partnerships, you're able to share the vision and the mission statement. But man, when I'm meeting these organizations, I'm meeting these CEOs, I'm meeting these local nonprofits that's been around for 35 years, 40 years.
Mm.
I don't I don't sugarcoat nothing, man. I try to I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I try to from the gate just be myself. I'm
Yep.
not trying. I don't need no favors from nobody. Like I'm not trying to puff my chest and come off as a know it all. Like I literally just try to be myself, and that's been like the defining um, kind of game changer for me because you know I used to be scared to approach people because of their titles. You know what I mean? Like we've
Right.
all done it,
Right.
right? You do it with
Yep.
celebrities, you do it with whoever it is that you look up to that
Right.
has, this status. But what I realized is like, man, it for me as a believer, Jesus is the only celebrity that I look up to, right? He's the
Mm.
only king that I adore, that I revere, that I honor. So no one can replace that. So we're all equals. So what I've learned, especially in this nonprofit world, is I just approach people like man, you just like me, you know? And when
Right.
you can really find that common ground and not be intimidated by people, people can see through, if you're trying to paint this know-it-all or you bite off more than you can chew, like people can see it. So when I'm able just to I'm not shy about calling out my weaknesses. And that's power
Yeah.
too. Because I let people know
100%.
like, hey man, I'm the dumbest one in the room. You know what I mean? Like I'll let people know, like, hey, because when you can really not take yourself so serious, especially when you walk into rooms with people that, probably, have these credentials or these degrees, but you can just be yourself and just own up to like where you are and not try to, put off this facade that you are what you're not.
Mm.
People can see through that in
Right.
building community. When you just be yourself and you demonstrate what you are strong at, and I feel like my strength is, I got 10,000 hours on building relationships with people. I got 10,000 hours spending time with people like in this community. And so I think I've mastered, you know, the strength of showing up in people's life and never leaving. And
Right.
that's where I feel has that's what's gotten me to tables that I'm sitting at now. And I tell this to people often. I say, you know, humility is best understood through acts of service.
Mm.
Like humility, like you don't call yourself humble. Humility is something that is attained through service. It's when your posture is, all I care to do is put the interests of others before myself and look for ways to serve. I'm gonna outserve everybody in this room. And guess what? I'm not doing this because I need anything from you. I don't need no favors. What I've noticed is that humble will be exalted. And so
Mm.
all these positions and these relationships and these doors that are opening up for me have literally opened up and happened because I'm posturing myself. Just I'm gonna wash your feet. I'm gonna bless you somehow, and I'm not
Yeah.
doing it to gain anything in return. But what I love is that's the kingdom economics. That's the
Mm.
kingdom math. Jesus comes down here, humbles himself as a lowly servant, doesn't come to serve, but doesn't come to be served, but to serve. Enters in, born in a manger, enters in on a donkey. Like what? Like the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, like shows up like that. On the
Right.
world's perspective, like that's a sign of weakness. And he's like,
Right.
nope. You want to attain power, my authority. Go wash somebody's feet. Go
Mm.
go serve the least of these. Go serve the people that can't repay you. I'll put you in position. If you follow up my lead, right? You walk in my ways. If my word is a lamp to your feet, I'll put you in position. I'll put you in the places that nobody else can put you but me. And
Mm.
that for me, man, has been like the one thing I harp on with the people I disciple. I said, don't ever appoint yourself as a leader. Don't ever seek to be on a stage. Don't ever, like seek out any leadership role. You know what I mean? Always be the person that shows up to serve, shows up on time, looking for ways to serve, because those are the type of people that get appointed to be leaders.
Right. Right.
When the motive
It's
is like, I want the title, I want the position, you expose yourself.
yeah.
But if you just show up consistently, serving without expecting anything in return, a pastor will look at you and be like, dang, he ain't even asking to be a leader. But I
Right.
like I like the discipline. I like the fact that he shows up on time. I like the fact that he's serving and he ain't even getting paid. Like like that's the guy we need on our team. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yep.
so, but that goes back to, that's the cheat code, because that's Jesus. That's a Jesus code.
Right. Right. Yeah. He laid
You
out the
know what I mean?
blueprint. The blueprint.
That's the blueprint.
Um, man,
Sorry, let me just
I
get my water real
love.
quick.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I love you know what you were saying about. I mean, I think one of the main things that really helps about being in a nonprofit is it kind of removes that question of what's this guy trying to get from me? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You're clearly not trying to get anything when you're involved in a nonprofit like that. There is no alternative motive, and being your authentic and true self is
yeah,
going to help put people at ease on top of seeing the work that you're doing and getting to that point of doing what you're doing, man. You took the steps to get there. You put
yeah.
in the work. It wasn't just something. One of the mottos I used to go by was "fake it till you make it," and I got to a point where one day I really thought about it, and I was like, man, that's the
I
worst.
used to say that too, man. I don't say that no
Right.
more.
I can't because that's the worst thing in my opinion that you can set yourself up for, because again you're not being authentic, you're not being
Yeah,
genuine. You are faking it. The first thing that you say is fake it till you make it, right? So put
that's
in that
funny.
work. Be genuine in authentic in what you're actually looking to pursue. First you gotta ask yourself that question: what is it that I'm after? right?
Yes. Yep.
And really break it down on the answer that you come up with. Some people, it may be those materialistic type things, right?
Mm.
Well, ask yourself and be real with yourself. Why do I want those things? Is it
Yep.
because of status? Right? Do I want a
Hmm.
higher status? What am I gaining from going after those type of things? And that
Yeah.
was something for me growing up, man. That's what it was all about. It was all about the status, raising
Yeah.
myself up to a position, not even raising myself up, but putting myself, appearing to others as if I'm something more than what I really am.
Yeah.
And again, getting back to being vulnerable and not wanting to open myself up in those ways, that's what was holding me back the entire time. As soon as I started opening up and being honest, not just with other people, but being honest with myself on what it was that I was really after, it made me change my point of view on what it was that I was really after.
Yep.
And wanting to, like I said before, man, I went through such a long portion of my life unintentionally hurting people, but knowing that that was happening and just being okay with it and moving on from it.
Mm.
And, maybe it's maturity. Maybe, I just went through certain experiences. Maybe I just got tired of it. I don't know. But I got to a point to where it was like that's no longer how I want to live my life. I want, yeah, I was unintentionally hurting people, but I was allowing that to happen and being okay with that. So now I want to start intentionally helping people. And
Yeah.
I hear the quote, hurt people, but my
Yeah.
flip to that is healed people can heal people.
Come
And
on.
that's the main focus now, and there's no BS with that.
Yep.
There's no alternative motive. There's nothing else other than I'm here to help.
Yep.
And I think a big part of that, that was kind of a road or a path that I was already heading down. But after our last episode, man, that was something that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Was there is no BS with this guy. This guy
Yeah.
is being vulnerable right off the bat and telling us some things about himself that, I mean, if I had gone through those type of things, I would probably never open up about it.
Yep.
And so, what can I learn from this? What is he teaching me by doing that?
Yep.
And that's where I'm at now, is trying to be genuine and be my authentic self. And the relationships that I have, some of them fell off,
Mm.
but the ones that I have now are so real and deep, and the flow
Yeah.
of conversations are so different than what they used to be. There's still a little bit of silliness and
Yeah.
unnecessary stuff to a degree, but for the most part, man, people know what they're getting when they deal with me now,
Yep. Yep.
and that's something that I'm proud of. But I also want to show other people that they can do that too. It's not all
Yeah.
about that elevated status. It's about, I mean, it's really about helping other people. and
Yep.
and again, like you were talking about with Jesus, he didn't come in, flashy jewelry, all the diamonds and servants helping him out. Um, he
Yeah.
he didn't he didn't try to put himself out there in a way that wasn't a genuine showing of who he is as a person. He was here
Yeah.
to help people, and
Yeah.
I think more people really need to. I'm getting some issues with my laptop here, but more people need to realize that you're not servicing yourself or other people by putting out that facade of being
Yeah.
something that you're not.
Yeah. I mean, you're actually serving people, but it isn't the right way, right? That's what I talk about often with leadership. Leadership is understanding that you're a leader whether you like it or not. You're either leading somebody in a positive way or in a negative way. And I spent years leading people in a negative way, and I see how detrimental it was for those people. But there's power when you make a change. And what you talked about earlier is like, I study a lot of Daniel Coleman's book on emotional intelligence. I spoke on this on the first segment about, you know, the five key components to be an effective leader is self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. I studied that because in order for me to be effective in leading others, I got to understand my personal emotional makeup. I got to understand my highs, my lows. I got to understand the things that irritate me, the things that get me excited. I got to be able to manage my emotions in real time. And when you can be the type of leader that understands your strengths and your weaknesses, man, when you get a grip on yourself and you can check yourself, like that's one of the biggest strengths as a leader is to be able to call yourself out.
Right.
And also as a pastor, like, bro, when I'm standing on, I'll be here on Sunday preaching. Um, and there's been moments when I'm here and I'm looking out into this crowd where I just tell people, hey, I'm slipping. I'll tell
Mm.
people like I fell this week, you know? And is it scary to do that? Yup, it is, because people assume the pastor got things together. But what I've gotten the most responses from people that have come up to me and shared, thank you for being honest, thank you for being vulnerable. Because part of me is like, man, if I go up there and throw myself under the bus, I'm gonna lose my job as a pastor. But even
Right.
but
Right.
even my pastor just appreciates the vulnerability. Yeah, I got to make sure that, hey, get on top of that, But there's power in that self-assessment, that self-regulation, but there's also
Mm.
power in being honest about it with others you're leading. Because if you never reveal those parts of yourself, man, people would just assume, oh, you're perfect. Oh, he ain't going through nothing. And then
Right.
that is detrimental to you, because then you think, oh, I don't need to share this with nobody because it's gonna be a burden, or it's gonna fall on their faith, and then maybe you get in your own head about it, and that's where
Right.
I'm like, nah, man, I want to be the type of leader that is fully vulnerable and honest, and I think I'm much more effective when I can check myself, but also be honest about where I am. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
No,
that's
exactly.
that's just for me. That's leadership 101, and it's twofold though too, right? Where I'm pouring into people, but if all I'm doing is pouring into people, but I don't have anyone pouring into me or anyone to hold me accountable, it's so easy for me to just sit on this high horse, assuming that I'm the one that's leading and there's nobody leading me.
Right.
That can be a very dangerous place, because if there's nobody leading me, checking in on me, then I can just kind of live up here and just, almost kind of dig a hole for myself, because I don't have the honesty or the space to be real about where I'm at.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? So for me, I appreciate you talking about, just having that awareness about where you are, because you can correct yourself better than anybody else can, you know,
If you're honest
if
with
you're
yourself,
honest.
if you look in the mirror and are honest with what you see, because, again, speaking for myself, I wasn't always honest. One, I wasn't always looking in the mirror. I couldn't, the metaphorical mirror. And two, when I started doing it, I started dismissing a lot of things that I was seeing, or casting blame on other people on things being the way that they are. Well, yeah, I did this and that was messed up, but it was because so and so did this, or, I was in this situation, so I had to do what I had to do to survive, or whatever the case was. You start validating all of the negatives, as opposed to, yeah, putting yourself in the driver's seat. Again, all of these negative things that happened to me, I can cast blame on other people or whatever, but what's the common denominator with all of these things that happened? Well, it was me. I put myself in those positions. I responded in the negative ways that I did. I did the negative things up front and made things worse, or, whatever the case is. I'm being kind of vague, but, just being, cutting out the BS with myself. You know, Stop trying to come up with excuses on why you're being a bad human being, and start coming up with excuses or reasons to be a good human being, to start helping people instead of hurting them or allowing them to get hurt. And that's hard for a lot of people, man. It really is. And again, I only know that because I can speak from experience. It was hard for me to really be honest with what I was seeing in the mirror. And then there was a good portion of time where it really bothered me that, I was almost kind of slipping into a depression for allowing so many negatives to happen for so long. Oh man, I wasted my life. I should have done, X, Y, and Z when I was younger and I didn't, and now it's too late. And that's something that I really want to get that message out there to people, that it's literally never too late. I even think about oh man, what the penitent thief, right? He that was is that what it is? The penitent thief that was up there on the cross next to Jesus,
Yeah, yeah,
because it was two thieves, right?
yeah,
And one was kind of shunning Jesus, and the other one was,
yeah.
take.
The other one's like, man, he did nothing, man. We deserve to be up here.
Right, right. We deserve it. And so, that's who he allowed into the kingdom with him. Literally at the last moment of his life, he was
Yeah,
able to turn things around for him. Lived
yeah.
an entire life of negative doings. And
Mm,
when it really came down to it, he was able to turn it around because he was honest with what
yeah,
got him into that position.
yeah.
And that's huge, man. It's never too late to be able to turn things around for yourself. It's never
Mm,
too late to have a positive impact on not just yourself but on others. And the
yeah,
lesson that can be learned from that, man, it's wild to think about. But again, I was in my early 30s when I had that realization.
yeah,
Mid 30s, really, when I had that realization. I know people that are in their 60s that are having those realizations. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's never too late to be able to turn things around and make amends with that old stuff that happened, and just do better going forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's strength, bro. That's real strength is to really see your journey in real time. And that's, one of the things I admire, about you and, you know, the work that you're doing is that the podcast, that, the School to Greatness, uh, Lewis Howell, or
Yeah.
what's his name? Lewis Howes.
uh House, yeah,
Yeah,
hose
Lewis
house.
Howes, man. This dude, I used to listen to him all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but every single interview, it's like the cheat code is that you're learning from other people, right?
Right.
You're literally sitting with people, engaging in conversations, and then hearing their journey. And it's 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 hard not to walk away from hearing somebody's story and how they were able to persevere, respond to a situation, and not be inspired to think the same way. When it's a
Mm.
positive response, right? And it reminds me when we shot a documentary for the high school during the pandemic. um the school board reached out and we literally shot a documentary, but a bunch of the students, they came to the school all mad that they weren't going to be walking the stage, but we ended up shooting this documentary, and every kid that had to walk up and take their still shot with their cap and gown, I was the pastor that was walking them through, right before they get in front of the camera. My job was to share with them, kind of like inspire them, like, hey, I know you didn't want to show up. I know you didn't, look forward to doing your graduation ceremony this way. But I said, one of the things I said to every single family, every student, is that 3% of life is what happens. 97% is how you respond.
Mm.
And this is so true because you're gonna face so much. Tomorrow, the next week, next year. It's not a matter of if, it's when. But when your mindset is ready to respond positively, knowing that this response will grow me. This reminds me of a verse in scripture that says, the suffering of this time is nothing compared to the glory that will be revealed. And
Mm.
that suffering produces endurance, it produces perseverance, it produces character, and produces hope. So
Mm.
suffering is good for you. It
Right.
doesn't feel like it in the moment. It definitely hurts in the moment. You want to, run away from it in the moment. But what Jesus does as he perseveres through his suffering, he now brings meaning to suffering. And I
Mm.
read this is a short read by Viktor E. Frankl. He survived the Nazi death camps, and I
Yeah.
read this.
Man's.
Man searches for
Oh,
meaning.
yeah. That book is
Yeah,
crazy.
man. The opening chapter opens up and it talks
Oof.
about, Victor says that, it is a man and woman's duty to find meaning in his or her life. And one of the things that he breaks down in this book is that he found meaning in three areas while he was in the Nazi death camp. And it was meaning in the work that you do. He found meaning in the people he helped. And the last one was he found meaning in practicing courage in the midst of suffering.
Mm.
And you know, I didn't find out this out till later, but he was a Christian. And so
Ah.
when you think about it, right, this perspective, this guy's in a Nazi death camp, right? And the book is it's so inspiring because I've never gone through anything he ever gone through. But the fact that he literally was able to use his because he was a physician or a psychologist, I forget, but he saw a way to use his gifts as a doctor, a psychologist, to add value.
I was like, wait a
Hey,
minute, I have this
come
book.
on, man. I was like, what you shuffling over there,
So
man?
yeah, no, I was trying to hurry up and find it
Hey,
real
put that
quick. I
book
was
back up. Put
listening.
that book. Hey, we're gonna promote this real
Absolutely.
quick, man. Hey, if y'all ain't read this is a short read. Victor E. Frankl is a beast. Man,
It's truly. I mean, it's gonna pull at your heartstrings. It's gonna
yeah.
make you feel uncomfortable for sure,
And
especially if you are somebody that practices empathy. Putting yourself in the position of somebody that went through the things that he went through. It's a wild read, but man, does it put things into perspective for you.
yeah, but I love what he breaks down, and this is a I've applied this in my life because he says you find meaning in the work you do, the people you help, and then courage in the midst of suffering. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, so the work that I do now, I find meaning in it because I'm helping people, right?
Right.
Um, and then the people I help, there's a lot of people that's connected to our nonprofit where we're into these relationships, these interpersonal relationships, guiding their, it's iron sharpens iron. It isn't just one sided. It's really like a relational nonprofit where I feel like our bread and butter is meeting people right where they're at and never leaving. And that's kind of what has found, not only for me, we got about 20 volunteers now.
Mm.
It's found meaning for everybody else too, because the people that we serve is their family. They come to my house. We throw them a big old Christmas party. You know what I mean? We
Mm.
we we do things together. We just did a car wash 2 weekends in a row out here outside the church.
Yeah.
But the work we do and then the people you love find meaning. But the third one, courage in the midst of suffering, that one is like, no, you find meaning there. But all three of them, it all mirrors the life of Jesus. It all mirrors his life, right? And the work that he did, while he was here, he came to serve. And he
Mm.
loved people, just compassionate, just generous, just the type of love that was healing, was inclusive. It was radical hospitality, radical generosity, and it was the type of love that people wanted to be around. And then courage in the midst of suffering. It said that God demonstrates his love in this, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. At any point, Jesus could have said, I'm out of here. These people don't deserve
Right.
my love. You know what I mean?
Right.
But while he's being tortured, while he's being cursed at, punched, and spit on, he decides to go through and finishes the mission and and demonstrates this love for us. And
Mm.
that for me is courage in the midst of suffering. So now we have a blueprint. Now, when you and me face suffering, We no longer say, well, why me? We now say, okay, if it's meant for me, if it's going to produce something in me, then why not me? All right,
Right.
I'm gonna tap into you, God. And if you suffered on my behalf, then there should be something for me to suffer through with you, with me. You say you'll never leave me nor forsake me. You say that you'll be with me till the end of the age. Then that's a promise that I can take to the bank. That's something that
Right.
that's hope that nobody can ever like take away from me. And so now suffering not only brings meaning, but other people are watching how you deal with suffering.
Mm.
Other people are watching how you work. Other people are watching how you care for people.
Right.
And this is where the verse that says, let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. When you reflect glory, it's almost impossible for a person not to say, man, God is good. Because Barry, I know the life. I know who he used to be. But to see
Right.
him living the way he's living and loving the way he's loving, I want to know who where he's getting this from. And then
Right. Right.
come and ask me where I get it from. I'll tell you where I get it, where the power source comes from. And then they say, okay, well, I want what you got. I want
Right.
I
There's
want
got to be
Jesus
something
too.
to
Yeah, I
it.
want that too. I said, then give God his glory. You know what I mean?
Hmm. No, that's big, man. That's big. One of the things that you had said, he's with you to the very end of age, and I know that that was something that you had on there on your that you really put out there with Melino on the website too.
Yep.
Was Matthew 28:19-20.
Yep.
Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations,
Yes,
baptizing
sir.
them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the
Yeah.
very end of the age. That
Mm.
last part, that I mean, that gives me chills
Yeah.
because again, to know that you're not alone in what it is that you're going through, to know that you're not alone even at the very end, that he's there with you.
Yeah.
Like that is such a comforting feeling knowing, because that I think that's one thing that everybody can relate to is that feeling of being
Yeah.
alone. But if you can
Yeah.
really accept and view things in
And
that
believe
light,
that.
believe it with your every fiber of your being. I literally just got chills just talking about it. It's a game changer. It's a
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
changer in life.
Yeah. Well, I love that verse because the Great Commission is probably the most important verse in the scriptures because everything else hinges on that command. And when you break down the that whole those two verses, it starts off with all authority has been given to me. So what that means, if Jesus is making this statement right before he ascends to heaven and he's telling his disciples who are literally going to be the people that launched the early church, which years later is why this church exists,
Right.
right? So he says, all authority has been given to me. So when a person says all authority has been given to me, we should probably listen. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? We should probably pay
that's
attention.
heavy.
What's the next line after that? Because if he say all authority has been given to me, we got to get on the edge of our seats and listen. Okay, if he has all authority, what's the next line?
Mm,
Now go make disciples of all nations. In parentheses, go share Jesus with everyone you meet. Go and share your faith, because to make a disciple, faith comes through hearing. And if you're not sharing the gospel of Jesus, people won't come to Christ. And that's one of the first thing that he says is go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, which means share the gospel, but allow them to embrace and to identify with what Christ has done for them and to be baptized,
mm,
which is in essence is to marry me, right? A wedding,
right.
the reason for the ring, the reason for a wedding, like this isn't love, it's a picture, it's a symbol of it.
Hmm.
Unending love. The ceremony isn't love, it's just a picture of it, right?
Right.
So when you understand that baptism is a way that you say, I love Jesus and I want the world to know. It's no different from a wedding that you're saying, I love this man, this woman, and I want everyone to know in the presence of God and all these witnesses.
Mm.
So God is saying, hey, go make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, teaching them everything that I have taught you. So that means that for us as disciples, disciple makers, it's our duty not just to get people in the water and to identify with the sacrifice and identify with the death and resurrection of Jesus, but it's to teach them everything that Christ has taught. So discipleship is essential for a believer. So for me, I take that serious. So
Mm.
what we do is every Wednesday we meet at a new location throughout the city. We set up shop, we set up tables, but we get into the word together, but everybody's going to get up and preach. And so it's a different model. We've been doing this for 6 months, but it challenges everyone to look at the text, spend 15 minutes in it. Everyone has 3 minutes to get on the mic and to bring and deliver a message. And it's just been a powerful way for people not only to conquer the fear of public speaking,
Mm.
but also it's allowed people to articulate their faith. Because sometimes when you're here and you're preaching to people and you don't create a space for them, if they're not plugged into the Bible study or they're not plugged into an MC group, as a pastor, I'm just assuming you're doing the work. But
Right.
if if he's asking us to teach them everything that I have taught you, then I need to sit with you and we need to open the scriptures together. And as we're opening the scriptures together, I should hear what you think and believe, because as a shepherd, it's helpful for me to guide you if you're off. If you're on, I get to
Right.
encourage, keep going, keep going. So, like teaching them, it requires getting into the word, but also discipling them to help them understand it, to develop understanding and competency. Bible literacy is one of the things that a lot of churches struggle with because they're dependent on one person teaching the Bible and reading the Bible.
Right.
You see this in a lot of churches, right? But we try to be disciplined in making sure that everyone is stewarding the responsibility of knowing the Word of God, so that you can share it with the people that is close to you, right? Because you can reach
Right.
somebody, I can't, right? So when everyone is taking responsibility to teach everything that Jesus has taught, then you start to see a compound effect. This is how the church explodes. And then the
Yep.
last statement, I'll be with you to the end of the age. So
Right.
what I tell my children when they leave the house, don't forget who you are and what you represent, right?
Mm.
Don't forget who you are and who you belong to is what I say. And for me, that's the most comforting thing, knowing that I belong to Jesus, and that love and his love for me, and that identity of being a part of his family. I'll never forget who I am and who I belong to, you know?
Right.
So identity is crucial. And the fact that he'll be with me till the end of the age, that just gives me peace. I can sleep at night. I can sleep when I'm going through a storm because I know Jesus is in the boat. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's one of those things where the Great Commission is loaded with some, you know, some practical things we're supposed to do, but it's sealed with the promise, like, I'm with you. I got you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
there's, I'm at peace. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the comfort that comes with that, like I was saying, knowing that you're not alone in your struggles, and
Yes.
you're also not alone in your successes. You know, you have somebody that you can share those good times with, and open up about those things. And again, you know, getting back to the name of the podcast, you know, that's what this is all about, man. Knowing that you're not alone, knowing that you have others, and there are others that struggle too, but the comfort that comes with opening yourself up to that degree, man, it's again, like you said, there's peace in it,
Yeah.
right? There's that, like you said, you can sleep good at night knowing
Yeah.
that he's got your back, and because of that, there are others that follow suit with that,
Mm,
and it's literally an army of people
mm,
that got your back at that point. And
yeah.
that's the most important thing about opening up, and accepting or looking things in that light is is the community that comes with it. And that's one thing that
So,
I really want to, you know, applaud you, because I feel like you're changing the name, you're changing the word and the definition of community. You're changing the way people are looking at religion and the love of Jesus and God. It's like I said, it's changing the way people look at it, but it's saving their lives in the process. You're literally
mm,
saving lives in the work that you're doing just by opening up and expressing your relationship with it. And
yeah,
that's huge, man. I just got just got a little choked up on that one,
yeah,
because
really, bro.
it's more people need to follow that path. More people need
Yeah,
to realize again that you don't have to be alone in your struggles, and you don't have to be alone in your successes. That if you just reach out, you take those steps, you reach out to people, you be vulnerable with them, you will literally, like I said, have an army that's got your back at that point.
yeah,
And so, I mean, getting back to um, the Melino Foundation, man, because
yeah,
that's what Melino means, right? Peace.
yeah, man. So Melino means peace in Tongan. I'm Tongan.
Yeah.
My sis Laura, she's one of the pastors here at Cedars Church. You know, she was one of our founding members. She was the one that called me and was like, you know, we're thinking about names to call it, and she was like, "How do you say peace in Tongan?" And I texted her back, Melino. She's like, "What if we call it Melino?" And I was like, "Shoot, that didn't come from me. That came from her." So I was like, let's run it," you know. But
Yeah.
you know, so what you see here is a palm branch and an olive branch, right?
Mm,
And so our mission statement is Melino, which means peace, exists to provide Christ-centered peace to those facing trauma, which is everybody,
right.
um, through recovery and supportive communities. And so we believe that, you know, we believe in recovery, but we believe in supportive communities that will assist and show up in your life and never leave. And that's just
Right.
been kind of the posture of Melino's. We go out to the community, we set up tables, we got a strong volunteer you know, support system. And through that, you know, it's been beautiful. And so the palm branch is a symbol of the triumphal entry, right? When Jesus enters in on a donkey on the week of Passover. But the olive branch is a symbol of restoration. So our mission is that people will enter into the Melino of Christ being fully restored.
Mm,
And so the supportive community is that's where the restoration happens.
yeah.
It's life on life. We ain't leaving, but we you know, we talk about accountability. When somebody chooses to follow Jesus and they're still living a life that is a contradicting to what they chose, we have these tough conversations in a loving way. You know, there's no condemnation for those that are in Christ, but we try to be honest with people because every week in our gathering we talk about this acronym MIPOD. You know, how do you cultivate a culture within your gathering? The M stands for um, Matthew 10:8, which is how do you cultivate the spirit of generosity in your gathering, which is freely giving, freely receiving. So every single week we talk about, hey, bring a dish to share. You know, like let's practice generosity within this gathering, and let's outdo each other in love. The I is insane evangelism. So how do you cultivate a gathering where everybody is thinking about ways to share their faith? And that's why we set up a table in the community this week. This Wednesday, we'll be in front of the CVS Jarvis and Newark Boulevard, and we're gonna just set up our table. Everyone brings food. I'm gonna have a PA system. We're diving into Acts 10. We're going to read it. We're going to listen to it. And we're going to spend about 15 minutes. Everyone's going to have 15 minutes to prepare a 3-minute sermon. And then everybody is required to get up and speak. And if you don't want to articulate the verse, all we're asking, just get up on the mic and read the text. That's all we're
Mm,
asking. If you expound on it, more power to you. But but we have to create the discipline to get up and share your faith, even if it's
Mm.
to your church, even if it's to your friends, because how are you going to get people to share it with a stranger if they never practice sharing it with their friends? And
Right.
so insane evangelism is cultivated when we are consistently working this out. So just like we go to the gym, right? You go and work out so you can see results. You'll start sharing your faith when everybody is showing up every week practicing insane evangelism. P
Mm.
is passion for the lost. How do you cultivate within your gathering a passion for people? Like every single person is going to live forever somewhere. And if it ain't for Jesus, then it's either you're going to live hot or holy. And that's a reality that we have to face. And so we have to understand that God is patient and not willing that any should perish. God doesn't want no one to perish.
Mm.
So if he is patient, we should be living with urgency. And so to have a passion for the lost, you have to look at every single individual that you come into contact with this understanding. And when you start to think that way, you start to look at them different, you talk to them
Mm.
different, you look for opportunities to insert the gospel of Jesus, and it becomes a second nature, right? So that's P. O is kind of what I was trying to get to in our gathering is obedience. How do you cultivate within our gathering the discipline to obey? And we don't take this lightly because one of the things that I've said, and people can say, it's probably too harsh, but because I care about the vision of what we're doing, I tell folks, hey, if you're not going to obey, there's other Bible studies that you can attend that will appease that. But in this gathering, we're going to take obedience serious, and we're going to take conviction serious, and we're going to take sin serious. So I'll say every week, if you're living in sin, stop. If you want to continue living in sin, then maybe this isn't the gathering for you. So we take
Mm.
it serious. We speak with authority in a loving way, and we also open the opportunity for people to share in confidence. Hey, if you're struggling, open up. Don't hold that stuff in.
Right.
Confess your sins one to another, and you will be healed. So we try to open up the space where people can be open about where they are, but obedience is something we don't play with.
Mm.
Being obedient is something that we don't play with. And so the last one is discovery Bible learning. We want to make sure that people, like I said, we're opening the scriptures, we're unpacking it together, and we're giving people the opportunity to learn it for themselves. And if there's something that's off, my job as a pastor is like, all right, this was completely off. But that's what discovery Bible learning is. And so we believe that if we want to see revival, and I want to kind of promote this event, August 2nd, I sent it to you, a
Yep.
flyer for this event we're hosting here in the parking lot, right outside these doors. The whole parking lot is going to be full of resources, nonprofits, with the likes of Resonate Church, Love Your Neighborhood. We got Compassion Network, who we're partnering with for this event. We got Love Newark, Abode, Tiny Homes, Lifeline Homes, and many more. But we're opening this event to the whole community, but it's geared for the unhoused community. It's going to be free food. We're going to have live music, worship. Mauso Lotso is going to be preaching, and then we're going to do baptisms. So that's August 2nd. Man, I want to just invite anyone who wants to come and have a good time and
Mm.
experience God's love. Revival is going to be here August 2nd from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. It's going to be a dope time. So yeah, man, that's kind of like something I wanted to share because we've been doing this Bible study model on Wednesdays, but we've been kind of leading towards this event to really host something beautiful for the community.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love it. Giving back to the community that helped, yeah, not just the community, but the people that helped mold you to who you are today, right? Where you grew up
Yeah, man, I love my
in the
city.
area. Yeah, and I love that you love your city, bro. Because more people need to take more pride in where they're at, and if you're not proud of it, then maybe you got to do something about it, right?
Yeah.
putting thought to action, coming up with these type of events to help people, help them grow, help them learn from those struggles that they've gone through in life. And again, I love the kind of the challenge that you put out to people that are getting involved too. Like, you're not just going to be here and be quiet and expect to go anywhere with us. We're making moves, and if you're going
Yeah.
to be here with us, then you got to make moves too. And so, man, I just love everything that you have going on, man. You took something that you're passionate about, and you put purpose behind it, and you're helping other people do the same. And again, the change that you're helping people make within themselves, leading the way, leading by example, showing people that it's okay to do these things, and if you do it, I got your back, and I got a
Yeah.
team with me that's got your back too, and you can help other people do the same, and you'll get their back, and giving value to our existence, really. Because again, a
Meaning.
lot, meaning, exactly, because a lot of people will question that, but if they can get involved and get in part of something like this, I feel like those questions go out the door. And so, man,
Mm.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I was going to ask you what was the event that you had coming up, and I'll absolutely start.
Yeah, man.
You sent me those flyers. I'll start posting those on the account too, so people can see that.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
so for before we jump off here, bro, let people know, anybody that's looking to get involved, looking to just see what's going on, and be a part of it. How can they do that? How can they get a hold of you? How can they look into it?
Yeah, man. So Melino Foundation, our offices are here at Cedars Church, but our website, I'll shoot you our link for our website. But what we do is every single Saturday. So we just hired our first employee, Nico Tuigamala, and he is Mauso, he's been managing two of our locations. So
Shout out
every
to
single,
Nico.
yeah. So Nico, and then Josh Pettipiece is he's going to be leading. He's been leading the Food Max table, and so what we do
Mm,
every Saturday is about 9 o'clock. We set up tables, and then there's food being served at those two locations. So
mm.
Nico manages all of our volunteers. Like I said, we got about 20 volunteers,
I
and
love that.
then I get to focus on the front end stuff of the business, the partnerships, the collaborations, and I shared with you that we hosted a town hall meeting here earlier this year, which was a town hall meeting I felt needed to happen after they just passed an ordinance banning um, camping and aiding and abetting. And
Mm,
so we leveraged that all that noise to host an event here, and we got to educate people on the ordinance, and we invited city officials and leaders and nonprofits here, and through that connection we were able to leverage what was happening at City Hall, brought it here, and just collaborated, networked and encouraged and educated people. But then a few months later, we ended up early May, we did another town hall meeting, but instead of talking about the problem, we talked about the solutions.
mm,
Shout out to my boy Aaron Horner, who was one of the people that inspired me to launch my nonprofit. He was our speaker, shared a presentation on just the data, the housing crisis. And so he shared that presentation at the first town hall meeting, then the second one. And so we're moving in terms of momentum. And, when you have a vision, the momentum is built by the people.
mm.
So when you can bring people, you can manage relationships to move people in a desired direction. This is where momentum grows. And so,
Right.
like this event that we're doing August 2nd, that is just another event that we're leveraging relationships with organizations, churches, and people within this community to create something beautiful. But guess what? At this event, we're going to be shaking hands, making plans. We're going to be,
Right.
loving on people, but it's a beautiful opportunity just to, network and build solid relationships for the common good. And so,
Right.
you know, I feel like momentum is something that is happening organically. And like I said earlier, momentum happens when the posture is humility and service. And
Mm,
people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And Melino has
mm,
been trying our best efforts to really demonstrate service to our community, to our families, our church, everywhere we go. So yeah, man, Melino is here to stay. We're partnering with a lot of dope organizations, and yeah, we're thinking global, but we're acting local.
right, right. Oof.
And with that being said, I feel like we will go global soon, but we got to be faithful with little to be trusted with much.
Man, I love it. It's so powerful. Um, Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing all of that, man, and talking about it with me, releasing with me. It's
Thank you,
another
brother.
affirmation, man, that this was supposed to happen, that we were supposed to get on here and
Man,
connect the way that we did, and I just appreciate you so much. I cannot wait for the time to come that I can get out there and share physical space with you and have some sort of part in this
yeah,
and what you have going on, man, because I mean the momentum is building. So I got to
yeah.
jump on this train now before it takes off without me, right?
Hey man, your work and you spreading this episode, and I'll be sharing with folks. I just appreciate you giving me time and space to share with you, and thank you for all the work you're doing. Man, you let me know if you need anything, man. It's a no-brainer with you, bro. I just enjoy our time together because,
Hmm.
like-minded, same mind, same spirit. It's just encouraging just to be like we've never met, we've never even, hugged each other, man. But
Right, right.
I feel like you're my brother, man, and I love your heart and I appreciate your support for me. And we're
Thank you.
both from Newark, but love you, bro. And I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep fanning the flame on everybody you're surrounding yourself with, and I'm excited to see how God moves in your life and
Hmm.
the impact you're making with everybody you come into contact with too, my boy.
I appreciate it, brother. I love you too, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.